Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Duda, managing partner and co-founder of Bullish. Today, I'm here with David Watkins of Dirty Labs, one of our investments out of Bullish Brand Fund 1 and Brand Fund 2. That's how much we believe in it. We're going to tell you a little bit about it today. It was launched in October 2020, right during the pandemic. And Dirty Labs is a cleaning innovations brand that creates high-performance, hyper-efficient eco cleaners such as laundry and dishwashing detergent, and more in the future. Welcome, David. We're so excited that the Bullish community meets you, and we'd love to hear more about your story. How would you describe Dirty Labs?
Yeah, at the core, Mike, we are a home cleaning products company, right? And so we prioritize safety and sustainability with our products. But I think, as you mentioned, what makes us really unique is that we're really uncompromising with the performance of our products. And we use bio-based technology to do that, which is, a departure from typically how cleaning products work, which are typically petrochemical based in nature.
Yeah. So tell people about that, because it's a lot of syllables, like bio-based. On that, and we'll get to your partner in a minute, but just to explain a little bit what that is, because it is proprietary. You're the only ones that have it, correct?
Correct. So we use a lot of natural ingredients. Enzymes are a pretty core part of a lot of our cleaning power in both the laundry detergents and the machine dishwashing detergent. There's been a lot of great innovation and, both with Dirty Labs and in the industry in general. And we've found very creative and innovative ways to use those enzymes in conjunction with other natural-based surfactants to get the cleaning power that you expect out of a market-leading, product or brand, but do it in a much cleaner, much more sustainable way.
So back to what I was saying before, when people sometimes hear natural or sustainable or organic, it's like, oh, so it doesn't work. Everyone right now, put in Dirty Labs and Wirecutter, and it works. There's plenty of third-party endorsements behind it. So as people maybe Google and don't listen to me, how did you, a smart guy from Google, this hook up with Dr. Pete, a University of Minnesota PhD that is the kind of like the mad scientist behind it? Like, tell about that origin story of how you two met.
Yeah, so, I had worked in consumer electronics hardware for most of my life. And it's interesting because as a consumer, I gravitate towards eco-friendly products in general and, care about where my food comes from and these kind of things, but have spent most of my career working in an industry that is sort of the antithesis of being sustainable. Like, you think about all the chargers and cables and cell phones and things like that maybe use them for a couple of years and then they end up most likely in landfill somewhere. And I think that kind of spurred an interest in me to work on products that were more sustainable and were a better solution for products that people actually need for their daily lives, right? And a friend of mine who's a founder of a very successful tech firm that went public was actually dating my co-founder's daughter. And he knew that my co-founder was this incredibly talented chemist and that the two of us could probably come up with something that would satisfy that desire to create products for a pretty broad audience that would be better for people on the planet.
That's great. And so at what point, what was that moment where you say like, okay, I have to do this? Because this is probably one of the more irrational things to do. And we often say like, you don't decide to become a founder, it kind of finds you. What was the moment where you're like, all right, the handshake or the bro hug or whatever that was, they're like, all right, Pete, let's go take down Tide and Cascade and others.
Yeah, I think that as a green product consumer, I'd kind of resigned myself to sort of accepting the fact that a green solution just wouldn't ever quite clean as well as a conventional product, right? And so I think that's probably the experience that most green consumers experience today. And I think that the moment that we really were like, hey, let's go and pull the trigger on this was when Pete and our team of chemists came up with, sort of the final working prototype of our laundry detergent, where you look at the super clean ingredient list that we use, we're able to be completely EU listed, fragrance allergen free, California Prop 65 chemical of concern free, do it in an innovative sort of form factor that reduces a ton of water, gets rid of a lot of plastic, and you combine all those things, basically you get to the triple threat of safety, sustainability, and performance. And I think as soon as we got that working prototype, that was what we kind of knew.
Yeah. And so you kind of described like you were as kind of the customer that, or the consumer that yearned for this, and now you're the co-founder of the company. How would you describe the Dirty Labs based customer? Probably there's a green element to it, but like how much do we know about them, especially since we have a strong DTC business and certainly Amazon, others, which we'll get to. But who's the core Dirty Labs customer?
I'd say the quintessential customer is probably a woman between ages of maybe 25 to 35. She's likely a professional also likely lives in a big city on the coast somewhere. But the user set is probably a little bit more diverse than you would imagine, right? We've got customers all across the country. And I think we solve a number of different needs for that customer, whether it's somebody that's looking for a cleaner bill of ingredients or somebody is looking for to tackle a particular need, whether that's, just cleaning your clothes better or getting rid of permastink, in activewear and that sort of thing, or maybe it's new parents. But, I think all of those things lead our customers to the brand.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, I mean, not only through Dirty Labs but others. It's just like people are just starting to realize, wait a minute, the things that touch my skin and put on my skin, whether it's a makeup or the clothes that are washed in a formula built in 1933 that maybe wasn't as human friendly as possible. It just people realize the stuff that your skin touches gets absorbed to your bloodstream quicker. And think about this. I mean, you're wonderfully attacking the stuff that like touches our clothes and cleans them, and our dishes and our forks and that side of it. So it's the discerning mom. It's the people that just like, wait a minute, this could actually have health issues. Not that we're making claims, but it's not just good for the earth. It's also good for the humans that are roaming the earth right now. So I've kind of led the witness a little bit, but what products is Dirty Labs just hunting down? Like who's going to lose as we continue to gain? And we don't tell revenue figures on this show or whatever, but who are the brands that stand to lose because of the way they're doing things now and what their formulas are?
Yeah, I think one of the advantages of being a small company, an emerging brand, is that we can rethink how we formulate products, right? And so if you look at the big guys, whether it's P&G, Cascade, Tide, those kind of brands, they're rather, vertically integrated. They own, petrochemical processing plants that are, create the surfactants in those products. And those are co-located next to the bottle plants that make the big plastic jugs you see on shelf. And so for us, we're able to basically cherry pick the best technology out there, do it the most efficient way possible, and kind of rethink that because we don't have the same infrastructure. And so I think if we can continue to create products, whether that's in dish or in laundry detergent, that perform as well or better than the conventional brands, but also eliminate a lot of the toxins and carcinogens and other, byproducts of these products that you use every day. That's a win for everyone, I think.
Yeah, that's great. And so along the way, there was probably either times where like, oh, if you only took this shortcut or did this, like you've been at it for 5 years and like we've seen some roller coaster stuff, which happens with any company, which is, you don't hear them on how I built this or anything. What are one or two inflection point moments that you've had at the company or Dirty Labs had as a brand, and how's that shaped where the company is today, which is growing extremely well?
Yeah, I think that, I think the first inflection point was getting this community of people around this mission and idea together, right? And so I think one of the things that makes Dirty Labs really unique is that we've got 3 full-time chemists, which is very unusual for a brand of our size. That not only allows us to innovate and create products that are actually differentiated from what's out there, but also we've got these chemists that are incredibly talented and could easily find higher paying jobs at, big corporations and what have you. But that's a theme that's kind of gone across our entire team, in that, we've been able to get a lot of very talented individuals that believe in what we're building and, want to dedicate their time to building Dirty Labs. We found that with the suppliers that we work with, making sure that we get the attention that we need to get, enzymes customized the way that we want them to be, the investor groups that we've had supporting us, like all of those things come together, I think is one of the major inflection points for us. And while we tend to do things the harder way, I think that there's a lot of people that enjoy that as well.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the inflection point that actually kind of really hasn't come, and it's actually a good thing. I remember when you gave us the stat, Target sells $500 million worth of Tide every year. And we found out what margins they made on the turn. I was like, wow, and that's good. And some of the things that claim sustainability and all natural, but maybe aren't as efficacious, like are better for the Targets and the Walmarts of the world, but they're not actually loved by consumers. You've built a business that is, mentioned earlier, heavy on DTC and loyal on DTC and also Amazon. In fact, Dirty Labs has got some of the best Amazon ROAS numbers out there. How's DTC helped shape your business? Do you see this continuing the way? And what have you learned from being like a digitally native, vertically integrated brand from the start that maybe is preventing you need to go to wholesale anytime soon?
Yeah, over 90% of our business is done DTC, whether that's, on our own site or through Amazon. We're continuing to grow at a very nice clip consistently. I would say that we've learned a ton about our customer, and we've also been able to grow a great relationship with our customer as well. As a result of that, I think that when people look into Dirty Labs products, I think you'd be surprised at how much more educated the average consumer is today than they were, let's say 5 or 10 years ago. And so it's been nice to be able to have that direct relationship with our customer when people call in asking about, hey, is this septic safe? Does this work with, the water harnesses that I have in the area that I live? That they tend to get either a response from our customer service team or from one of our chemists directly. And so being able to educate the customer and also learn the kind of questions that they're asking of us has been a pretty big key to our growth.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's like we're not attracting people, I should say labs, isn't attracting consumers like buy one, get one free. It's a very discerning, regardless of age group, it's just people that like want to know the answers to the test and the questions, and we keep serving them. Again, the repeat rates are phenomenal on that. And so, as you listen to them and they give back ideas, we also love the restraint. Like we are in the cleaning products area, but we basically started with washing machines, and we have dryer balls and that too, but like washing in your clothes well and drying them, but now dishes. And so the restraint has been great. Do you see a future of getting into more categories, and what's your viewpoint about when is the right time for that?
Yeah, so we have a pretty robust R&D pipeline. So I'm not going to get into all the products that we have upcoming, but certainly surface and air care are two categories that we're looking at today. That we have, working prototypes in and that sort of thing. I would say that, the ultimate goal would be to take what we've done with laundry and dish and sort of apply that same philosophy. Now, the technologies that we may implement, for the other products may be slightly different depending on what the product is, but really focus on things where we can make a performative difference and also one that, uses the same high standard of ingredients that we use in all of our products, really.
Yeah. So what's the vision? What's the end state? I mean, here you are, this guy that cared about eco-friendly and green practices, and you literally have bet your career on it, given that Google has been a pretty good place to work for most people. But what do you see the visions of Dirty Labs being in terms of what success looks like? And it obviously doesn't have to be financial. I mean, we're betting on it, and you are too, but what do you see that being?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we want to continue to grow the business. I think that we can grow it certainly online. I think at some point, making the product available at retail is another step for us, but certainly reaching a broader consumer base is something that we have in our sights to do. I think that a good marker of success for us would be to change the way a cleaning aisle looks. Dirty Labs represents a lot of the product on shelf in the future. That's one future state that we'd love to see. But if the whole cleaning aisle as well goes from humongous, plastic jugs of laundry detergent to something that's more efficient and more sustainable, then that's a win as well. And so I think that, we're looking to make our mark as a brand, but also change the face of, of a consumer home cleaning market looks like in general from a product perspective.
Yeah. And how have you, like, we'll talk about plastic specifically, because it's like we've had firsthand knowledge of like you just dealing with the caps and on the supply chain, which has helped gross margins. But you've actually early days had relied on a little bit of plastics here and there to much less now. That can be tough as a founder. While it's idealistic, it's also like things could be a lot there. How have you managed that? And how much, I don't know if you have a percentage of plastics have you kind of wiped out since day one?
Yeah, so in the early days when we first launched the product, we had sort of something that looked like a large water bottle, right? Which had a laundry cap and spout on top that was plastic. I'd say after about 8 months, we moved away from that in favor of a silicone beaker that we used to dose the product. But the primary packaging was just, aluminum bottle with an aluminum cap. We kind of carried that through to our powdered products where we don't really need to have a plastic container for those things. And so we use a paper tube and a wooden spoon to dose it. We're effectively taking that same approach to the rest of our products. So, where possible, we eliminate plastic across the board. And certainly, given the concentration of our products, we're just a lot more efficient with our packaging in general, which we think is a huge add as well.
Yeah. And given that, the entrepreneurial journey is so tough to measure, like listen to a book or talk to a friend about. We allow a lot of people think about starting their first companies or anything like that. What advice would you have to someone that's starting their own company, whether it's in e-commerce or DTC? What are the things that you wish you knew now in 2025 that you wish you knew in 2019?
Well, I mean, I think the first piece of advice would probably just be believe in what you're doing. because if you're successful with it, you're going to be doing it, you're going to be living and breathing it for a really long time. I would say that, the thing that we've done a good job of is bring in experts across the board, whether it comes from an advisory that we've built or the people that we've brought onto the team or the consultants that we've worked with. All of those things, you can get the right people that give the right expertise, makes the journey a lot easier. There's going to be things where, you know, I would say that there's things that you just don't expect to happen, right? Whether that's some error in manufacturing where you've got a leaking bottle or something like that. You need to account for those types of things. And I think it's just the piece of advice would be prepare for the unexpected.
So again, Dirty Labs, go to dirtylabs.com. You can go to Amazon too, because actually the margins are good either way. At select Whole Foods as well too, to learn more. But David, thanks so much today. And it's great hearing from you.
Thanks, Mike.